Good evening, Miss Kagetsu. Let's start with your intro. Tell us about yourself, your work, your class year, where your summit took place, and your initial Asia 21 experience.
So I'm Kristin, one of the co-founders of Saathi. I am part of the class of 2015, and we had our summit in Hong Kong. And because it was I think it was the 10th anniversary, that was very exciting because we had an opportunity to meet our class for the first time, but also to see a lot of the work that the alumni had done and some of the experiences they had with the Asia 21 network. And there were a lot of discussions and conversations around the future of the network as well and the future of the community. And I think those are some of the most exciting parts of the summit. I'm originally from New York and I moved to Ahmedabad in order to start Saathi. We basically started Saathi in order to address lack of access to menstrual products and do so in a more sustainable way. And we kind of came across that as an issue because when we're looking at lack of access, most of the women and girls who didn't have access were in rural areas. And they're, having been to a number of rural areas in India, but also in other countries as well, one of the major challenges is waste and waste management, among other challenges. But we're thinking of bringing sanitary pads to these areas. We also have to think of what happens after and bringing just cheap products, first of all, but didn't seem to necessarily, consider that end of life. So that was where we said, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and see if we can come up with something a little bit better and can we make the whole product itself fully sustainable. That's how we ended up with Saathi. And yeah, it's been a good journey so far, working to address this issue, trying to figure out different solutions, how we can grow. And
Well, we'll talk about your journey a little bit later, but a New Yorker with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from MIT, and you decided to go to India. I know you had done some work in India before, but what was your main inspiration? I mean, like, why India, right? I mean, you as I said, you're a New Yorker. You went to MIT. Could have gone anywhere, could have stayed here, but why Gujarat, India?
Why India? So that kind of goes back to a number of different points. One is that I had been exposed to Indian culture early on. I had been exposed to Indian food, Bollywood movies, all kinds of things, and really had a little bit of that, kind of, I guess, the same way a lot of people here have seen Hollywood movies. So I had seen the opposite. And I know that's not necessarily showing the full picture, but it just gave a little taste. And then when I went to college, I had a chance to do a class called D-Lab. And that is where I first came to India with that class. And we were working on a couple projects. And one was with an NGO in Uttarakhand. And we were my project was to make crayons actually from the leftover dyes from the textile dyeing program. And so that's what I was working on. And in that, I realized, wow, this is really amazing. I think there's a lot of things that I'd love to explore. And I felt like the culture is very welcoming. And that gave me the interest of, I think I'd like to be working in India. So
that was what, 2014?
2012, actually.
2012.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I had a job. So I went back to the job in Boston. And then after that, I moved to India end of 2014. So.
2014. Right. So let's go back to your journey now. The Saathi has been, you co-founded this in 2015, almost 11 years now. What has been the most challenging time for you to grow Saathi Pads now that, you've been in Gujarat for over a decade? I mean, you basically live in Gujarat. I mean, I see you here every now and then in New York, but you are in Gujarat. I know there are many challenges. I'm from Nepal, as you know. But what has been the most challenging time for you?
Most challenging. There's a number of different things. I think at the beginning it changed over the course of the journey. So at the beginning, the main thing was that we had not much. I mean, more like an idea and few prototypes and whatnot, but still trying to get some traction, get some interest, tell people that this will work, that we tried it and did all the tests. I think at that point it was quite tough, just to be like, well, why not? Why shouldn't we do this?
Mm.
Um, and get support. And then after, then once we had more things going for us, maybe we had gotten a couple of awards or recognition, then it was a little bit easier for people to say, oh yes, I maybe even have heard of you or something like that. But at least they were like, oh, okay, that doesn't sound like a crazy idea anymore. And so once it stopped being crazy, then I think in that sense, we're looking at how do we move to that next level. And this, I think, is a challenge that we're exploring at the moment. Like, we crossed a couple of different milestones. And now we're looking at, the growth stage and seeing how we can build up a good team and all of that. So I think the challenges have changed over time.
Yeah, and you talk about accolades and the most rewarding outcomes you want to talk about so far. I know that you're most proud of, right? Yeah, they're beyond all the awards and recognitions that Saathi Pads has already received. That you keep me posted, and I'm very proud to see that happen. But any most rewarding outcomes that you want to talk about?
I think it's really seeing the people that we've impacted because every time we see like somebody who actually uses the product or who actually has benefited from some work that we've done, or, when we can go to the community and see like everybody smiling or like telling that, oh, this is something we really need, uh, you know, please come back soon, something like this. So
Right.
these are the moments which are most impactful for us and make us really feel most rewarded because it's like the people who we're actually working for. And when we started, we were like, well, we'll set up a 1 million pads initiative. And at the time, we had made, I don't know, maybe 200 pads. So saying we will have distributed 1 million pads is kind of, it's like moonshot, you can say. But, now that we've actually been able to distribute over 4 million pads, it's a whole different, game, I think, in that sense. We're really proud and excited to, have had so many amazing partners in the work that we've done, been able to, collaborate with the local municipal corporation here, and, had a lot of other impactful work across the country, actually, which is really exciting.
Right. And then the fact that you talk about how the community is bought into the idea. I think that makes it also easier to work over the course of the decade, right?
Right. Yeah.
I think we've talked about you and I when you are here or whenever in different summits, you talk about how Saathi works on the principle of circular economy.
Yes.
Right. I think the 4 R's. I mean, I learned this from you guys actually. The 4 R's. What the reduce, reuse, recycle, recover. That underpins circular economy is reflected in Saathi Pads' work. Would you like to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So with circular economy, basically it's the idea that, whatever you make, it will get used by a consumer and then it will go back through the life cycle. And instead of just a linear cycle and, going to the landfill, it will actually get upcycled into, or recycled back into materials, raw materials that can again be used to make the products again. So with that whole system, what we've been able to also do is make sure that we have positive impacts at different stages of that system as well. And I think that's one of the things where, when we were starting, the UN SDGs had just been launched as well. So even, just learning about those for the first time, we're like, oh, we read all the descriptions and we're like, oh, wow, that's what we're trying to do. And we checked so many of the boxes, which at the beginning, a lot of other companies were trying to see how can we check the boxes. I think these are things like circular economy, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of these frameworks came into people's minds in the past decade and are reshaping how people are talking about impact, how people are talking about, the impact they'd like to make or what their goals are in terms of impact. And I think that's helped us as well, try to communicate in the same terminology or with the same terminology. So I think that's been great. In terms of our work with circular economy, I mean, it's brought us to so many different policy discussions as well, around the Global Plastics Treaty, World Economic Forum, so we've had a lot of different opportunities because we have this model of circular economy, to be part of some of those conversations. And that's been super rewarding and really amazing because we can see a little bit of like the bigger picture, our place in the bigger picture, where can we also make some impact there as well.
Right. But can you explain for the layman like me about Saathi Pads, the whole production, right? Because you use waste material, basically banana, the plant, the waste, how we are reducing plastic waste through Saathi Pads, how it's reduced, how it's reused, how it's recycled, how it's recovered, that sort of like that cycle,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we basically are using an agri-waste material. So it's banana stem, and the stem essentially gets discarded. So usually, farmers need to cut down the stem every harvest. So they'll throw away that stem, and then only the new fruit will grow, the new tree. So because they're anyway throwing away the stem, and that's the part that we use for making our product, this is a way that we can upcycle agricultural waste or byproducts. Then we process that and make our products in our own facility. And then we sell the products to the customer. And then once the customer uses the product, because it's biodegradable and compostable, then it goes back into the soil, and that can be used then again to make new products.
All right. And then by producing Saathi Pads, you are basically offsetting all the non biodegradable, plastic pads, right? And how many thousands of metric tons have you offsetted so far? I mean, from your from Saathi Pads?
Yeah, so it's about 150, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, metric. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I know I think it's in your website, so I should look it up.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, you talked about SDG goals, Kristin. I know there are several, right? From health, gender, climate action. How many SDG? I mean, would you like to say something about Saathi Pads? How Saathi Pads actively contributes to some of the SDG goals?
To the SDG goals?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we addressed 9 of the UN SDGs, and basically, that spans across health, climate,
gender,
yeah, and poverty, So, ocean as well. So yeah, I mean, I think in that regard, we cover many of the SDGs because of the integrated or intersectional work that we're doing. So because this is a menstrual product, we're addressing health, women's health specifically, because it's also a product which then, if you don't have access to, that means that you'll, need to skip out on work or school, because then you don't have any other option maybe than to stay at home, than to stay at home. And so if you stay at home, then you slowly fall behind and then have to go out or something like that. So I think these are things where, again, that will kind of contribute to women and girls staying in, or being able to, continue to stay in school or be part of the workforce. So that addresses gender equality. And then for health, it's really about having access to these products means less infections, whether it's reproductive tract infections or whether it's like, urinary tract infections. And then for climate, it's about the amount of CO2 emissions reduced or plastic waste that we've avoided. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, several, which is very impressive. Okay, now that we talked about Saathi Pads, let's talk about your engagement with Asia 21, class of 2015. What role has Asia 21 alumni network played in Saathi's growth? I know because we are always in touch, but it is for the wider audience. Could you share a few concrete examples of how Asia 21 alumni have supported your work, either directly through collaborations or indirectly by opening doors, sharing expertise, or amplifying your mission? And I know quite a few of them have done that. And what
Yeah.
has made those connections especially meaningful to you?
Mm. Okay, so I think the first instance was in 2016. We were part of the Action Lab, which is a new program with Asia Society. But I think uh, the idea was to have different projects and be able to kind of almost have like a think tank, mini think tank, or personalized think tank to give feedback on the work that you're doing and seeing how to accelerate it. And I think that was an amazing experience in terms of just the diversity of people in the room. So it's only consisted of Asia 21 members. So it was really amazing to see the diversity of the room. From people focused more on business to people focused more on film, etc. So all the different aspects, you almost never have that crossover in the same room, just talking for an hour or two or three about the work that you do, right? So having the different perspectives, generates a lot more creativity, I think. And then I would say from that I met Eddie, and he's a fellow I think from 2011, and um, he's definitely into finance, and so it's really interesting to hear his perspective. And we were having some, things that we needed to figure out regarding like fundraising and making all the balance sheets and whatnot. So he was there too. He's like, yeah, sure, call me whenever you need help, and we can talk about it. So definitely uh, talked a lot to Eddie, and then I think after that. I've been in touch with a lot of a number of members in my class as well, um, just to kind of, bounce ideas off of here and there, or talk about how things are going and get some ideas. Um, and also, we've just become friends, so just catching up and that sort of thing. So I think it's helpful in both the sense of advancing the work that we're doing at Sati. They've been super huge supporters of our work. Rick, I don't know if I can remember everyone here and give them all a shout out, but Rick has been a early supporter and even came out to some of the programs and things that we've been awarded at. And yeah, just having that kind of an amazing support group as well, like to talk about challenges, but also uh, to support our work is great.
Right. In fact, that Action Lab idea was conceived by your class in Hong Kong in
Yes.
2015.
Yes.
Rajiv,
Yes.
Raj Goel, and Emily Chu, they were sort of like the catalyst behind that, right? And of course,
Yeah.
Eddie was with Temasek at that time in Singapore. He's
Yeah.
back in, Thailand now.
In
And Eddie,
Thailand. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you used to have sort of like monthly check-in with him. I mean, that's what you told me
Yeah, yeah,
for a
yeah.
certain time.
Yeah, and I saw him in Thailand.
Yeah,
I don't think it's last year, but the year before.
yeah.
Him and
And
Nika.
yeah.
Yeah,
And of course, Rick is in Houston. Rick Paul is, ever
yeah,
willing to support, big advocate for Asia 21 as a alumni himself,
yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's okay. Got it. You touched a little bit on the sort of like, elevating Saathi Pads to the next level now that, uh, it's been a little over a decade in
Yeah.
existence, right? Long-term plans, you want to talk about a little bit on long-term plans because I see that I think you have grown now that you're even using bamboo waste. Is that correct? But what
Yes,
are the longer
using
term
the
plans? Yeah, and what other plans? I mean, are you expanding in? across India, South Asia? I mean, the menstrual health issues are not as common, in the region, and across the world actually. But what are your long-term plans?
Yeah. So we did extend into bamboo. We are open to exploring different materials. Now, that is something where we can explore these other materials because we have, that's kind of the whole premise on which we started. We should be able to use different types of fibers and that sort of thing. And in terms of long term plans, so right now we do have a partner in Malaysia and one in the UK, and we're looking at, I mean, there's still so much of India to cover, but we're open into, people who have reached out to us, and that's how we kind of developed our relationship with the group in Malaysia and the UK. So those have been from, inbound inquiries, and I think with our outbound, it's mainly to spread to all of the major cities here in India and to go through the B2B networks as well.
Malaysia. So I hope some of your fellow AG21ers can be a supporter, advocate for Saathi Pads as you grow into different regions. I mean, Malaysia, we can talk about that offline. Who
Yeah.
we should, right? We do this. This is
Yeah.
part of the whole region. Is that right? Is convening, connecting, and catalyzing change, which is what you guys are doing. Our job as organizers, connecting, convening, which we do. But I think as far as catalyzing change, you guys, EC20 alumni, they are doing it. But our job is to connect those willing partners. So let us know. Let me know. So looking ahead, as you expand Saathi Pads work and scale its impact, what are some of the ways Asia 21 alumni or anyone else interested in your work help Saathi keep making this positive impact? If you want to outline like some few ways they can support your work.
Oh, oh, how they can support our work.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, I see. Um, well, I guess in I mean, we're open to, partnering with anyone who's interested to, help scale and, reach more people, whether that is in India or in other countries. So as I mentioned, since we do have, local partners in other countries who showed strong interest and even have run many workshops as well locally. We're open to doing it that way. And in India itself, we've done a lot of work kind of with NGOs and with corporates um, to make sure we can scale our reach. Um, in terms of other ways to support, I think the possibilities are endless. So really, we're open to kind of exploring different collaboration opportunities as well. Something we've done is even aside from the typical B2B or that sort of thing is actually events. So we've really tried a lot of different models in terms of making sure that we can, be as accessible and relatable to people as possible.
And can anyone interested in buying, sponsoring the products, can they do it online? Is that possibility? Let's say I want to buy for a month or year, whatever, right? Or contribute. How can they do that? Online?
Oh, we don't have that channel open right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
like a
yeah,
direct online channel, but they can definitely email us. I guess
yeah.
is that too also, yeah. I think email us and then we can talk directly about it. But yeah, if you're interested to, support a particular community or number of girls or women, we can definitely work together on that. We've done that many times.
Mm.
Both here in Gujarat, but also other parts of the country. So very much open to doing that as well.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's work on that. Kristin, your fellow AC21s, I'm sure wouldn't mind uh, sponsoring. I mean, how much does it cost? Really, like for a to support, like let's say 1 year's pad for a girl child in young girl in Uttarakhand, anywhere.
It would be about 1,200 rupees
Yeah, which is
for a year. Yeah.
year, right? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That would be
And
1,200 rupees.
that,
Would
yeah. So I'm
20,
just doing that for you.
$20?
That's at 12.50.
12.50, right? That's
Yeah.
2 or 3 coffees. So, okay, let's work on that, Kristen,
Yeah.
we should do that. Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
finally, I guess, this is something that, we've asked all the fellows we have interviewed. This is basically alumni, leadership journey and their engagement with Asia 21. It could be short, long, not too long, but just a quick, quick sort of like in a way, it's like a testimonial also. It's this, I would like you to complete this sentence. Because of Asia 21, I. So say, because of Asia 21, I, and complete that sentence.
I want to say because of Asia 21, I've been able to gain a lot of confidence in the work that we're doing. Been able to meet a really amazing group of people, or be part of this community and support, therefore support the people that we work with so much better. And I think having a strong community to be able to bounce ideas off of and discuss different, challenges that we're facing has helped us grow faster.